Welcome to the Success in Africa podcast with Dr. Modupe, your weekly dose of leadership vitamins to make you successful in Africa.
Hello and welcome to the Success in Africa podcast, episode 38. My name is Dr. Modupe Taylor-Pearce, and I am a scholar and practitioner of leadership and organizational development. Simply put, I study what makes people successful. I have been studying this for 3 decades with a particular focus on people in Africa. And in this podcast, I will share stories, lessons, and insights on people having success in Africa. Why this podcast? Because I am sick and tired of Africa being the poorest continent in the world. We are blessed with the greatest resource, young people. Africa will soon have the largest number of working age people in the world. And when these people achieve success, watch out. Africa's wealth will be unparalleled. Why? Because I don't know of too many Africans whose goal in life it is to die poor. You see, success in life is simply the achievement of a predetermined goal. Whether that goal is owning a house and a car, creating employment for 1,000 people, or transforming your country into a high-income country, this podcast has been created to help you to achieve it. So, if you are serious about achieving success in Africa, I want you to subscribe to this channel. If you like this video after you've watched it, please click the like button. This podcast is brought to you courtesy of BCA Leadership, the largest leadership enhancement company in Africa. If you have questions that you want me to answer after watching this video, just log on to BCA Online, the link is on the screen, and post your questions there. That is where I will respond to your questions. Today we are continuing with a 4-part series on raising capital. Raising capital to fund your business venture or non-profit organization is one of the areas that most occupies the minds of current and would-be founders. I often get this question, Dr. Modupe, I need money to start my business. How do I get the money? How do I get the money? Rather than just give you a bunch of theories from textbooks on how to raise capital, what I'm doing is I'm sharing the stories of 4 different founders and how they found the resources needed to grow their business. You can then glean or extract from these stories the lessons that may most clearly resonate with you as you pursue your dream of success. In the past 2 weeks, we have learned about the journeys of David Pakima of Sierra Leone and Sam Turiatunga of Uganda. Today, we are going to learn from the journey of a South African who has successfully grown a business into an industry in which he had no formal training, but he recognized the gap that he has successfully filled. His name is Tumi Phake, and the name of his company is Zenzele Fitness. Tumi's academic training is in the area of finance, and he spent the first 7 years of his professional life working in finance for Rand Merchant Bank, or RMB. However, he left the bank after 7 years at age 30 to start Zenzele Fitness because he saw a gap in the market. The South African fitness market was quite developed with large brands like Planet Fitness, Virgin Active. These brands dominate the market and offer fitness services to middle and upper class clients. However, Tumi saw that there was a market for people who are at the lower class that was not tapped. The kind of areas where he grew up. He saw a need there and he thought he could fill that need. The journey to doing that, though, was not straightforward. You see, Tumi used to work out at the gym, the RMB gym, and the cost of the gym was subsidized by the bank, making it very affordable for a young worker like him. When he heard that RMB was going to replace its old equipment with new ones, he asked the bank to donate the old equipment, to charity, to a fitness center that he would create and open in Tembisa, which is a relatively poor township on the outskirts of Johannesburg. His plan was to run the gym on the side and keep his banking job. Unfortunately, even though the bank agreed to donate the equipment, but they said, hey, you've got to transport it. And Tumi realized he didn't even have the money to transport the equipment because it was expensive. And he knew that he hadn't really, truly thought his plans through. So initially, he kind of had to shelve that. Then he learned that RMB, while doing this upgrade, was bringing in an outside company to set up and manage the gym. He was amazed to realize this is actually something that is possible, that, outside management companies sometimes manage a company's gym. So Tumi set about saying, I've got to learn about this thing. Of course, the company that was contracted to do the RMB work, they were not keen on sharing their secrets with him. So Tumi then befriended the CEO of a company that distributes gym equipment and asked that CEO to mentor him. Through this CEO, Tumi learned about the intricacies and the needs of the gym equipment market and the needs of the buyers of gym equipment and the sellers of gym equipment. And he realized something amazing, that the buyers of gym equipment don't necessarily want to buy the equipment and have it on their books. And they don't want to be burdened also with the burden of management and maintenance of this equipment. An idea was born. And this time, Tumi researched the idea thoroughly and put together a detailed plan of how the business would operate. The business would manage gyms for corporations and universities, purchase the equipment, lease it out to the institutions, manage the gyms, sell membership to the members at a discounted and pre-arranged price, collect management fees from the institutions, and make money through that. Additionally, by being the owner of the equipment, Zenzele Fitness could then redeploy the older equipment after the lease terms were done to the lower income neighborhood gyms that it would operate as standalone gyms, in order to give these lower income inhabitants the opportunity to have access to a gym at lower prices. This time, Tumi made a detailed plan. He outlined the financial projections, the operational steps, the decisions, the risks, the mitigation strategies, the competitive advantages, and the value proposition of the business. His research and detailed work paid off when he was able to get Awardu, an impact investment fund, to invest $340,000 into his business to get it started. This investment fund invested before he even got his first customer. His first big customer was South African breweries. And later on, Zenzele Fitness added other notable customers like Absa, Discovery, and also a university, the University of the Witwatersrand. At these places, Zenzele manages the gyms, collects a management fee, purchases the equipment from Tumi's CEO friend and leases it out to the companies, sells membership to the company employees at a discounted rate, and also, depending on the details of the arrangement, to other external people at a different rate, and makes a tidy profit. Zenzele Fitness has also opened up standalone gyms in poorer townships in South Africa in fulfillment of the mission that drove Tumi to entrepreneurship in the first place. Tumi credits his continued success on finding a niche that was untapped, finding excellent operators who run the day-to-day functions of the gym, finding the initial capital, and establishing a mindset from the start that he wanted to build a legacy business, one that would outlive and outlast him. There are so many leadership and entrepreneurship lessons to learn from the journey of Tumi Phake that I could go on for an entire hour instead of our usual 15 minutes of this podcast. I'm going to limit the lessons here to the lessons related to finding growth capital. And for this, There are two lessons I want to highlight. You may have others that you can glean from this story. Let me share my two. Lesson number one, make a detailed plan of how the money will be spent and what it will generate and the actions that will generate it. Sometimes we want to raise capital from people or institutions, and we tend sometimes to go to them with a mindset that essentially says, hey, trust me, I'm a good guy, I'm a good person, I'm going to be responsible with your money, and I will work hard to be successful. Trust me. Yes, it's important to have a track record of good character, honesty, diligence. Yes, it matters. Yes, it is also important to have a track record of competence. But it is also important to note that you must demonstrate that you have thoroughly thought through your plans of how you will turn your business idea into a successful business. The more details you put in your plan, the more confidence you will give to a prospective investor who is considering whether or not to invest in your business. Tumi took the time to think through and write his plan in detail. This was the key to him achieving something that is difficult to do in Africa, which is get a professional investment firm to invest in his business before the business had acquired a single customer. Lesson number two, leverage your networks. The relationship between Tumi and the CEO of the equipment distribution company was key to his ability to raise the capital that he needed. Relationships matter. And having positive relationships with somebody who was recognized and respected in the industry was important to give prospective investors confidence that an investment into Zenzele Fitness would yield positive results. You see, the CEO of the equipment distribution company had already invested in Zenzele. Yeah, the investment may not have been in cash, but it was in the form of kind. It was in the form of training, network sharing, extending favorable sales terms to Zenzele. And this investment made the CEO interested in supporting Tumi to get other investors to come on board. And the relationship with the CEO also helped Tumi to see the gaps in the industry and to flesh out his plans to address those gaps with sufficient detail that would be filled with verifiable numbers so that a third-party reviewer, like the Impact Investment Fund, was convinced that this company would be a worthwhile investment. Why were they convinced? Because yes, Tumi had the character, yes, he had some competence, but also he had a detailed plan that bred confidence. So, to recap, two lessons today. Two things we can learn from the journey of Tumi Phake. And they both center around the fact that getting capital from professional sources requires you to do your homework in detail. You've got to do the research. You have to have a detailed plan that passes the proverbial smell test. The numbers have to be accurate or defendable. The steps to achieve the numbers must be described, and the risks involved must be properly articulated with mitigation strategies. Detailed plans breed investor confidence. Remember that. Detailed plans breed investor confidence. So when you want to go out and get institutional investors or professional investors to invest in your business, do your homework. Take advantage of the networks you have. Check out your numbers. Make sure your plan passes the smell test. Road test it with your mentors. And keep revising your plan so that when you present it to these professional investors, it absolutely is rock solid. Now, you may have gleaned some other lessons from Tumi Phake's story. If you did, share them, please, on BCA Online. we've come to the end of our podcast today. I want to thank you for listening or watching. I hope you've learned something useful from today's podcast. Remember, we're on a series looking into acquiring growth capital. This is the third of the 4-part series. Please subscribe to this channel. I want to encourage you. Click the like button on the video and tell your friends about it. Because together, we can transform our beloved continent of Africa. I'll see you next week.
Tomorrow belongs to those people who prepare for it today. See you next week.